Hey everybody, and welcome to the GameSpace Game Show, GS2 Episode 13.
Woo!
Woo!
Wiki.
I am your host. I guess I'll be your host today, and I will be assisted by our co-hosts, Steven, and that's me. And we have Ralph with us today. Hey Ralph, how you doing? His
Doing all right.
Second episode, fan favorite. Bowman's one of the fans, and he is just jazzing over Ralph.
I love you, Ralph.
And we've got Dame here. Dame, how you
Hello.
doing?
I am doing fantastic this Good Friday.
It is a Good Friday. It is
a Good Friday.
And
Rapid sick.
well, is it Merry Good Friday? Is that how they do it? I'm not sure how they.
Happy, merry, whatever, you know.
And
it's a Good Friday. It's a really
is.
Good Friday.
It's
Oh yeah.
one of the
Very merry on
days.
birthday.
And also a very happy Passover to our Jewish listeners
Indeed.
as well. So happy Passover. And also happy Bowman. How's Bowman doing today?
Bowman's doing a lot better than he was this morning and last night.
Bowman's been a
Good.
little under the weather.
Stomach bug came up after work and it just kicked the crap out of me last night.
Ooh.
He's been picking fights with stomach bugs lately.
Hey, I'm winning this one.
Well, talking about picking fights, that's the perfect segue into what's going to be a fantastic show today, because we have one of the topics that I love talking about all the time, and that's movies. But the overarching topic is why are movies about video games so bad? Because most of them really are. I don't know if there's really a reason for it. So with the release of Ready Player One this weekend, we're going to be delving into the sordid past of video games and their movie counterparts. And I believe it all started with the Super Mario Brothers movie. So let's get some feedback here, guys. What do you think?
I'm biased. I love the Super Mario Brothers movie.
It was a movie that kind of scarred me. All I remember, okay, and you can find videos of this floating around somewhere on the internet, but the dude who played Mario did I think he did like an anti-drug PSA or something like that, where I remember like him just like staring at the camera and like yelling and pointing his fingers and said, "If you do drugs, you're gonna go to hell." And I just remember as a child going, why is Mario telling me that I'm going to go to hell? I don't want to take Tylenol anymore.
R.I.P. by the way.
Yeah, Bob Hoskins. He's actually he was one of my favorite actors, because Who Framed Roger Rabbit is like one of my all-time favorite movies.
And Enemy at the Gates.
Yeah. Fantastic actor, but he troubled me in the Super Mario Brothers movie. I was troubled, and it wasn't just that. It was the little-headed.
The Goombas.
The Goombas.
It was supposed to be a Goomba. It didn't look like it. Looked like a little. Have you guys ever seen the movie Critters before? It looked like they just stuck one of those on like a regular-sized person, and they were like, "There you go." A reptilian.
They probably did.
Except they were like super tall.
Yeah, they were really tall.
They were super
Because
tall.
they were regular sized humans, and then they got de-evolved and they grew bigger.
Yeah.
Figure that
with
out.
tiny heads.
Right.
Tiny heads. It didn't really make much sense, and I vaguely remember that they were mixing DNA, but I mean...
Well, they evolved from the dinosaurs is the whole thing on that side of it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I don't know. That's
If I could only make you idiots smarter... Sorry.
So it was basically... Yeah, I know. And, it was basically like Jurassic Park, just melded with you. Yeah.
Except Super Mario Brothers. Okay, so as I'm sitting here thinking, like, I think I may have misspoke, because I don't think it was Bob Hoskins Mario. There was a show that was like the real Super Mario
Super
Brothers,
Mario
I
Super
believe.
Show.
Got the DVDs.
Yes, yeah. So it was like a live action Mario Brothers show.
Yes.
And it was the dude that was the actor from that. Oh my word! that
Yes,
was just-
and Luigi was in that too. I
Yes.
have both. I have Super Mario Brothers World, and I have that on DVD. My son watches it all the time.
Oh no!
Whoa.
Oh no! There's part of me that that thinks, okay, you know, I understand bringing up a child and the way they should go, but there are some things that are best left in the past.
Hey, my son watches Reboot. He watches Beast Wars. He's all good.
Oh, man.
Nothing wrong. Nothing
Beast
wrong
Wars
with
was
that.
awesome.
Nothing wrong with Reboot or Beast Wars. I'm
That's
all
true.
about those two shows.
That's what I grew up on, man.
Right on.
And you're
So-
still growing up on them.
And that's and Reboot's coming out of Netflix.
Does anybody here still have a Rat Trap Beast Wars toy?
Oh,
Me?
I had
which
I
one
had
did I
Optimus
have?
Primal when he was on it, when he was Transmetal, until my dog chewed it up. I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!"
I've got both versions of Dinobot. Like both, like from whenever he
Transmetal and
yeah,
regular.
but like that episode, and we're totally going off on a tangent right now. But the episode where
Next week we're
Dinobot
talking
goes all out to destroy the disc is like by far the best episode, man. Like, yeah, it's just like full on sacrifice, like one man army. Like, I don't know, Dame, if you haven't seen it, you got to get it.
I haven't. I'm
That was.
I'm
I
behind.
think that episode was titled "Path of the Warrior."
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna find it and we're gonna send it to you. We're all gonna watch it. We're gonna like force you to watch it. We're gonna be
It's
on
not even-
Skype watching your
It's not
face.
forcing to watch it. Beast Wars was like the best show ever.
Okay. So
All right. Let's make it happen.
to kind of bring us back, like let's just go back to Mario Brothers real quick, because this is a main problem with most of these game to movie adaptions, and it's like the proof is in the pudding, and the pudding's like the parallels between the games and the movies, they never really add up. Like, so talk a little bit, since you've watched it probably more than anyone, Bowman, like the difference between, you know, what you see in the games, which I mean, just off the top of my head, it's the traditionally small Goombas,
Right.
and then, you know, turtles, things like that you're jumping on, to the actual film. You know, where did they go wrong here? Well,
So, really, the Mushroom Kingdom is basically just what's left over after the asteroid hit Earth and forced everybody into a parallel dimension, which kind of correlates to the show, because they go through a drain pipe and they, you know, end up in the other world. But in the cartoon, it's like this big open grassy plains. You got trees, you got blocks all over the place. In this one, you got like a industrialized electric car power grid thing, you know, with the Goombas that have heads that are like twice as small, bodies are like twice as big, whereas they should be twice as big for the head, and like itty bitty bodies walking around.
And wasn't Bowser some like Aryan dude too? Like,
yeah. Dennis Hopper, I believe he played.
Dennis Hopper,
played.
He played Bowser, and in the shows, obviously or in the games, he's always like this dragon type, alligator type dude, you know.
Yeah.
So in this one, he's like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but he's only a Tyrannosaurus Rex for like 2 seconds before he gets evolved into nothing. And I mean, the best correlations between the movies and the games was Super Mario Brother, Mario, Luigi. Can't even say the princess, because it was the princess's daughter instead of Princess Toadstool.
Yeah.
And Yoshi. Toad was in it, but he wasn't really Toad. So Yoshi and those two are really the best things you can get out of the movie.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
And that started in 1993. Was really when the rise of video game movies began, I guess. 1994, they tried to capitalize on that again with Double Dragon. Did anyone see that movie?
I didn't mind Double Dragon. I liked it.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
what is wrong? I can't.
Double
handle it.
Dragon was alright with me.
I am a true nerd. Okay.
I was all about playing the video game on my Sega Genesis back in the day. The movie came out. I watched it many a
Double
time.
Dragon on NES.
I'm
Oh, yeah.
like flabbergasted. Dame, did you see this movie? Did you
I
see-
did not. I did not see Double Dragon, but I played a lot of Double Dragon.
love Double Dragon.
Nobody should watch Double Dragon. Nobody should watch Double Dragon. Okay, and I remember like in the game, you know, you had those big guys, you know, and they translate. Yeah, exactly. And then they translated it to the film, and it was ridiculous. It was like so unbelievably ridiculous. And I'm
gonna have to look into this.
I don't. Oh my gosh!
You know what?
It was disgustingly ridiculous.
Looking at this list of movies we have here that were video game movies, and I am seriously going to go watch all of them.
Okay,
I have 75% of those on DVD right now.
So okay, I think we can all kind of start. This is where it started to get into the more popular titles. I mean, Mario Brothers obviously was very popular, but at the time, 1994, Street Fighter was the game that everyone was talking about.
Yep.
Still is.
It was everywhere. Yeah, I mean, everyone knows Street Fighter, basically.
Like every early Walmart had, or whatever your department store pre-Walmart had, a Street Fighter 2 Turbo Edition arcade console in its lobby. I wasted so many quarters. Yep. I had names. I wasted so many stinking quarters in the lobby.
That's right, guys. We're going back to like the 90s when that closed. Or maybe not. Maybe that was 2000 something. Because I remember getting 90s. A PlayStation. I remember getting a PlayStation 2 from Ames.
Okay.
Brand new. So that was 2000 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, whatever the case is, we did have a movie. Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile. Cool thought. But kind of ended up like cool story, bro.
The movie kind of got way off topic real quick.
But that's the whole thing. It's the parallels. It's the parallels that I'm talking about between the actual like game itself and then what they do in the movies. Because I mean, Guile, he's traditionally an American, so they had a foreign star who didn't even try and act like he was an American.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but it's kind of like they did that, and then they were like, hey, the main characters of what I believe to be like the basic main characters that have traditionally like been the main points of Street Fighter, which are like the Ken, Ryu, Bond. They just like they forgot about it all.
And Ken and Ryu weren't even really friends in this one. I don't think they were like they met up or something.
Yeah. I vaguely remember that they worked together near the end, but...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they weren't originally together, but when they came together to fight, you know, Bison and all that, they kind of forged a bond at that point.
Yeah, it was when they were in the, like, that locker room area fighting Vega and, what's the name? I forget the other guy.
Sagat.
Yeah.
I mean, I vaguely remember that movie, but, you know, I also think... wasn't it the last movie that Raul Julia did, I think? He was the one who played Bison, but he was also in the Addams Family.
Gomez.
Awesome. He was such a great actor, but that was just, oh man.
It's like, all right, guys, I'm going to hang it up here.
For him, that movie was Legend or League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, like it was for Connery.
Yeah.
That was Gomez?
Yeah, that was Gomez. Yeah.
Put the mustache on him. Put the mustache on him. Look.
Draw the mustache. Draw the mustache.
He's Googling it.
Yeah, yo.
He's got to look. He's got to look.
I am BB it, brother.
So then we actually get a couple movies back to back afterwards. The Mortal Kombat. Now they were actually pretty good movies. They
second one I didn't like.
No, they were not. No, they were not. They were not good movies.
They were not bad movies, though. The first one, I mean, the first one was all right. They kind of like stuck it out with, you know, they kind of had like the main character going on. You know, it was a tournament. You know, I think they even like had they did. They definitely had like Goro in there, which was like. I mean, you know, they tried to stay pretty true to the game as much as they possibly could.
Yes.
I think that was also one of the last movies that the one guy did. The guy who played, was it Kano? The Australian actor. He was on Jag. He passed away shortly after that.
Really?
He was in Jag, and he passed away shortly after that. I think it was filming around the same time.
Huh. I mean, I remember who you're talking about, and I don't recall him being a particularly like famous actor, but that's I didn't know about that. But both those movies, they did pretty well in the box office, and you know they had Christopher Lambert of Highlander fame in there, so you know.
They changed him out in the second one. They changed him to that other guy who plays on Black Lightning now. I can't remember his name, but that really made me mad. You know, Christopher Lambert was awesome for Raiden. Yeah. That guy, he's like, well, I can't really do better than Christopher Lambert, so I'm just going to stick it out. Pretty much. Well, I mean, who could? I don't think anybody could do a better Raiden than Christopher Lambert.
That's probably pretty true. But we may never know. And then now here's one that really interested me because I did not see this one, but Wing Commander was. Did anyone see that? Did anyone actually see that?
You know what? And I actually had a conversation with Freddie Prinze Jr. on Twitter about it.
Really?
Pretty cool guy. Yeah. Oh yeah. We had a conversation about that because I was watching Star Wars Rebels, and he was of course Kanan Jarrus from Rebels. So we got a conversation about that, and I was like, man, you were good in Wing Commander. It's like, I kind of wish there was a second one. He's like, yeah, it was never in the cards. I was like, well, it would have been cool.
Well, it was never in the cards because it had extreme losses. Extreme. I mean, that movie cost millions to make. I think we're talking tens of millions to make, and it didn't even gross 3 million in the box office. Now, again, for those who aren't aware, Chris Roberts is behind Star Citizen, so it's kind of like, I mean, I don't even know where to go from there. I mean,
the phrase "if history tells us anything," ... kind of comes to mind.
Well played, yeah, definitely. So, you know, but at least he's kind of sticking in that whole spaceship flying kind of.
Now, here's a question about Wing Commander. Was Mark Hamill in the cast for that at all?
No.
Okay, because I seem to remember for some of the Wing Commander games, which had a lot of cinematic content, he was in that.
Correct.
Gotta love that guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mark Hamill's awesome. Mark Hamill is also in Star Citizen's coming up soon, if it ever launches.
Yeah.
He's in Squadron 42.
I don't know.
10 years from now.
He's either a Skywalker or he's the Joker. That's all. That's anything else. And
hey, come on, Trickster.
Okay, yeah, he did do well. So then
and he was Trickster in Flash, the original and the new Flash. So
yeah. So shortly after Wing Commander, which nobody will remember, and I'm okay with that, Tomb Raider came out, and you know, I think was Angelina Jolie even like big at that time? Was she like
she was
a household name?
Yeah.
Yes, she was, and I think that was kind of at the. I'm wanting to say that was close to like the peak of of her career at that point in time. You know, she was kind of the like, you know, you want somebody who's a you know, popular, kind of brooding, you know, darker, you know, content actress, you know, action star, and, you know, Angelina Jolie was the go-to. And, you know, of course they tried to capitalize that on the, you know, the 90s design of Lara Croft as well.
They did. Even going so far as having her stuff, her lady areas. Is that I did?
Can we say that?
It's Good Friday, so I'm trying to be as good as possible.
I didn't take it the bad way.
I didn't ask that of you, Sam.
I know, but you know, we have a lot of listeners who are asking me to do specifically that. So you know, but
the run seemed like they were slow motion. Let's say that.
So they kind of like Baywatched it a little bit on but you know, and so this is kind of like an interesting take because, you know, maybe that was kind of keeping with the certain aspects that made Tomb Raider as a game more popular. But then they went ahead and they rebooted it, which it came out last week, I think. And I don't know. I don't know what to say. The game actually has a pretty good reception. A lot of people like the new Tomb Raider games, and they pretty much followed it, or at least followed the film in somewhat of the same vein. But it's still not garnering that kind of support. I mean, the first Tomb Raider 1 and 2 never broke 25% on Rotten Tomatoes. And then, you know, this new one is hovering around 50%. I mean, it just does not seem like it's resonating with people. So what do you guys think about that? I mean...
Well, where's Kiwi to tell us that she could break this person in half with her fingers?
She is busy wrangling her world domination tour in Rift. So,
oh yeah,
there's that.
We'll leave her alone, then.
Well, here's my take, and I think this kind of goes to say for a good number of these films. I think what happens with something like this, you get a group of people in a room that are spitballing ideas, and they're looking at, hey, what's making money? What's popular? Oh, hey, like fill in the franchise or fill in the game, whether it's Super Mario Brothers or Tomb Raider or Mortal Kombat or whatever, and like, hey, let's try to make a movie about that. Well, here are the details. Here's the backstory. Here are some of the key things. Nah, forget that. We'll create a new story. It'll be better. It'll be better than ever. And then it's just hot garbage. Now, I mean, that being said, there's also something, like, we got to be honest here too with this as gamers, and ask the question of, is there enough story in some of these games worth telling in a cinematic form? I would agree with Ralph here and say absolutely not.
Absolutely. Well, you could especially see that with Street Fighter, because that's literally, you just run around fighting people. No story whatsoever. You just got to go around beating people.
Well, okay, there is a story. There's a little bit of a story.
Yes.
I mean, when you beat the game, they have like a whole little story. You know, Ryu's sitting there under the waterfall. You never. Okay.
I never beat the game all the way.
Well, you don't deserve a story then, Bowman. You don't deserve a story if you're not going to beat the game.
As a kid, I played the game, and I haven't played that particular game since I was a kid. And as a kid, you know, some of those games are pretty hard. You can't get past like the 8th or 9th boss.
Get good, man.
Yeah,
get
really.
Good. Scrub.
Yeah. Learn to Street Fighter, all right?
Right?
God, I even have problems with the new games.
That's all right. I do too.
Well, maybe you just need more time playing. Maybe you need to spend some of that 750 hours in PUBG and move on over to Street Fighter for a few.
It's 800 now.
Whatever. We're done. We're done with that conversation. That was last week.
That was last 2 weeks.
Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within was in 2001, and we're not going to talk about that because you guys all love Final Fantasy. I just want to get
that. Not that.
No, that one. When I watched it once. I was like, "This is not Final Fantasy whatsoever."
It like had nothing to do with Final Fantasy at all.
They were ghosts.
Did it have a Cid?
No,
I can't remember honestly.
I think it had a Cid. I think it had a Biggs, and I think it had a Wedge. I think that's what it takes to have a Final Fantasy.
And they were as memorable as nothing, because I can't remember the main character's name from that game or that movie.
Nope. I just remember them being in a dark place and things glowing. That's it.
Yeah, there was ghosts. They were trying to get away from the ghosts or fight the ghosts or something. I was like, what does this have to do with it?
That's like, I watched it. I could not tell you what it's about. Okay,
that's what I'm saying. I have no clue. I watched it once and I thought it was so terrible. I'd prefer to watch the actual Final Fantasy anime that they had, which wasn't that great either, or Advent Children.
It wasn't, but that wasn't in the box office, and we're going to bypass it. You keep trying to bring us. You keep trying to bring us back. You keep trying to make it happen. Slip it in there. We're not taking it.
I did slip it in there.
It's there. Like you're going up for the shot, and I'm rejecting it every time. You can't keep bringing that up.
Everybody who's watching, he's going to remove this part from the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to say edited across the screen.
On a podcast, it's going to be across the screen.
Sorry, the video cast. Sorry.
Resident Evil came out in 2002. Now, everyone nod your heads like Ralph is doing. So what did you guys think of Resident Evil? Ralph, you seem to like it.
I was okay with it. It was all right.
I was expecting more because you were like...
I watched them.
You watched all of them?
I've watched most of them. I can't say that they were really great.
How far?
Mila Jovovich was probably the best part of the movie.
Obviously, because she came back for every single one. I mean, they just shelled out for her. But did you guys play the games as well? Like, how well did that correspond? Like, what was the parallel to the actual game? Because some parts
Umbrella Corp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Nemesis.
That's true.
Yeah. The dogs.
Yep, the dogs.
That open up.
We've got
We're just picking little parts like they had this.
Was there ever laser rooms in the game? I don't think so.
I don't think there were laser rooms.
No.
Splatter says Resident Evil was the best video game movie, hands down. And you know what? People agree with him because it was the longest running video game movie sequels. They had 4 of them, right? 4.
I think so.
And
actually, is there a 5th one?
Yeah, there was more.
Because there was a cartoon one too, I think.
Oh, but it's not a box office. We're just.
I think it was
right. Box office. Box office titles.
I thought it was.
I don't think it was. So I'm gonna start picking some of them out just from this list because we're running out of time for this particular conversation, but I want to hit some of these and then I want to just ask you guys a few questions over them because so Doom had The Rock in it, who's been big probably all his life. I think he's just always been a big person, and then he got famous, and then and
just
you
got
know
bigger.
Yeah, he just got bigger.
Honestly, I didn't watch Doom.
You didn't watch
The Rock
Doom?
became a boulder, which then became a mountain.
And now he goes on rampages.
Yeah.
Oh, like
It's true.
Boom.
That's a video game too, and I think people are hating on that one pretty well already.
Yes.
Well,
I do. I'm not about it. It's because the Rampage game, even though we were talking about games that had little to no backstory, that one had little to no backstory, but it did have some things that mattered.
yeah.
As in that the creatures that you saw were transformed from humans.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true. That is true. So Doom, absolutely terrible. They kind of, in some parts of Doom, if those of you who saw it remember,
The first person.
Yeah, they
I was
going to
say it was first person, wasn't it?
In parts, it was first person. So really, really weird how they tried to actually loop in the game and failed miserably. Max Payne 2008, Mark Wahlberg, Mila
That
Kunis.
was trippy, man.
It
That's all I'm
wasn't.
going to say about that.
It wasn't trippy enough for me because the game was all about bullet time, and I think I counted it once when I was watching the movie, One Lonely Night, and they only used bullet time like twice in the entire movie.
But
And
most of the movie, he was like insane with angels in his face or something.
Yeah, which made no sense to me. I mean, they kind of had, not really. It didn't follow enough. It's kind of like they took Max Payne, the first game and the second game, and tried to make a movie out of it a little bit, but it just didn't work at that time. And then Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. Prince of Persia was such like an awesome game at that time. And then they used the Sands of Time, and then
let's Jake Gyllenhaal it.
I don't know.
They could have had somebody better.
I don't blame him. I
think I only watched half of the movie and I fell asleep, and I haven't picked it back up since.
Yeah, it was the perfect sleepy movie. You just I couldn't even tell you what happened in the second half or the first half.
I know he got the dagger that had the sands, and he used it. It ran out. He had to get more sand, and that's all I know.
I don't even remember that much. I just remember him being in the movie. That's it.
So let's talk about a couple of the successes Angry Birds movie was a success.
I love that.
Animated.
That blows my mind.
Because
They should do a Star Wars Angry Birds movie.
well, I think that they capitalized on it because
good.
I mean it was a lot of kids play that game, and the birds are kind of cute, and yeah, exactly. And they kind of they made up a story that kind of went along with, hey, the pigs are coming in, we got to be birds and do our bird thing.
They eventually used the slingshot too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, they kind of kept with it, but they worked really hard at it. And apart from that, no other movies really blew anything out of the water. But until you start getting into gaming adjacent films, like Wreck-It Ralph, and
It was so good.
I love Wreck-It Ralph. I can't wait for the second one.
Yep.
Same.
This year, isn't it?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No. Is it
No.
this year?
Breaks the internet.
I don't know.
Soon.
Someone asked
They
Google.
dropped the trailer. They did that
They
much.
did
Or-
drop the trailer.
Or teaser.
Ready
I don't
Player
know.
One. Also, Ralph, you saw it, eh?
Yes.
Tell me
I have the book.
how did it make you feel?
Content.
Kid again.
Content. I was happy. I was in bliss afterwards. It just everything felt right.
Really?
It's like, where's my VR life?
yes, everything felt right in the world. You were at peace finally with
Yeah,
the
it was
universe.
just that kind of movie. It just felt right. It was
He's sitting here like,
He walks out, butterflies are flying around him. It's just,
I had a 30-minute
It's like
drive
Spencer
home.
and Nature calls at the beginning in the shrine.
yeah.
like,
I had like a 30-minute drive home from the movie theater, and the only thing I could talk with my buddy about, I just kept saying, "It was a good movie. It was a good movie." And like periods of
I was
silence,
gonna
and then
say
I would
his
just come out of
30-minute
nowhere.
drive, he had no clue what he was talking about.
So here's a gaming adjacent film that did not do well. Pixels. Did you guys see that?
I loved Pixels.
Oh,
I loved Pixels. I'm sorry. It was a good concept. I like how it was done. It was good for me.
I mean, they really brought it back. They brought it Atari back in that one, though. Like,
Right.
way back.
Well, if we're talking like gaming adjacent, can we also bring in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where Peter Quill's like ultimate form is Pac-Man going up against
Oh,
Ego?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
genius.
That was
absolutely genius.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
And he made a comment about he would be like Pac-Man on the Ghost or something at one point in the film, I'm pretty sure.
So we've got, maybe about 5 more minutes over this topic. So I'm just going to ask you guys, like, what is it about video game movies that they're getting wrong that they're finally getting right with the superhero films? Because Marvel's doing
Right.
it. They're just kicking it out of the park. And video game movies they can't grasp it. So what's going on?
A lot. Really.
They don't have Favreau making the movies.
It's
If you put Favreau down and have him film a Mega Man movie, I'm sure it would do well in the box
Well,
office.
and you have Disney money.
Yes, that too.
Disney money as well.
Yeah,
And-
because how many of these other movies were like low budget films? I mean, I'm sure like Dungeons and Dragons seems like it was pretty low budget. I'm sure.
At the time, they
yeah.
were high budget. But what were you saying, Ralph?
Oh no, I was gonna say also like comic book superhero movies. They already have the storyboard laid out. All they have to do is follow it.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas the
And they
game,
completely
it's implied
beat the-
story.
Well, what do you guys think? Do you think that maybe they should take a step back with the video game movies and maybe kind of focus more on shows, kind of like how Netflix is doing? Netflix, they started taking things and making them episodic, and I think that might be a better way to do things in the long run. But I mean, what do you guys think? Would you actually watch some of these video game seasons, like if they were shows?
I think
Like
it
I
really
watched Mario, and that was good. I would watch shows like that if they were TV shows.
I think it really depends on the story that you're trying to tell and the game universe that you're trying to tell it within. Because I think that there are some games that have enough lore on the periphery that you could explore and tell a really well fleshed out story. From something that is kind of off, off in the distance, not maybe a main part of the game. Because I think anytime that you pull in a main character from a video game, everybody has their opinion of what, especially with older IP, everybody has an opinion of what that character's like when they're going to get a cup of coffee, or or when they get stuck in traffic or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks about these things. But I think that there's a value though in if someone in Hollywood is going to make some type of video game related content, have it be within an established universe, but have it tell a different story. One of the things actually that was done years ago, and I know that this was met with like really kind of mixed reception, was the Forward Unto Dawn series that was done on the Halo series, and it told the story of an academy and a cadet, from the academy that ended up being a main character within one of the next Halo games. And I actually really, really, really liked that.
I like that one.
Because the chief was present for just enough of the end of it where you're like, he's finally here.
Right.
So
did you download the Halo app on Xbox where you watched the miniseries they had?
Waypoint? I'm trying to remember if I did or not. That would have been the one that they did with shoot.
I just know it was specifically a Halo app, and they had their own little mini series about one of the planets and stuff like that. So it was like 6 or 7 episodes long. It was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I can't remember. I remember I did have Halo Waypoint, which was the app for that, but it may have been in a stage where I just didn't have Xbox Live and had no access to it.
Well, they like I said, I talked about this briefly last week. Amazon released the Division episodes to correlate with the game. They were pretty terrible. I don't know if you guys will have a chance to check them out on Amazon Prime, but I would say it's worth it if you've ever played the Division, just so you can see, hey, this is well, I mean, it's bad, obviously, but they try, and
weren't they talking about doing a movie?
I think that was the movie. I think they planned like, hey, we're gonna do a movie, and then they're like, you know what, just chop it up, put it into some episodes.
Just put it into episodes.
Just put it into episodes on Amazon. Someone will watch it, and I was like the only one.
Honestly, the game itself was, I feel, good until you hit the Dark Zone, and then it's just like one big clobber fest. But they've apparently done a lot of additions to make it better. So
we'll go back one day.
Not the episodes.
Yeah. I haven't seen the episodes yet.
Yeah, definitely check them out if you hate yourself. So we have some news stories to get to. Let's hop into those because we don't have a lot of time left. Hello Games, guys. Do you remember Hello Games?
Yeah, they disappeared for like 8 months after the game launched.
Yep, and that game is No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky.
All right. They updated. They're planning to update the title of No Man's Sky with an update called Next. Nobody knows what Next is, but it's going to include an Xbox One release. But apart from that, they said, "Hey guys, we're working hard." So
here's what I appreciate about the people over at Hello Games, and this is a controversial thing, and I'll just go ahead and say this: even though No Man's Sky was not the game, we did not receive the game that we were promised on release. They have done a lot of work to update that game and bring more and more content to that game, or flesh out the content that exists within the game. And I gotta say, like, there's something to that I really appreciate. That rather than just throwing their hands up in the air and say, yeah, well, you know what, we got your money and you have this broken game and we'll probably never make anything again. They're saying, okay, we screwed up here. We're going to own it, and we're going to try to do some things to rectify this.
In all fairness, Sony did push them to release the game early, which is why it was so broken. So they did disappear for 6 to 8 months while they were fixing things, and when they finally brought something out to fix it, it was amazing.
Well, but then you also do have to look at some of the hype surrounding it before release, though, and that's the thing. That's the place where people get really hung up, and I agree with them that you should have never promised something about a game that you never intended to release, or that you released without any intention of this is a roadmap of when this content is going to be released for this game. Now, No Man's Sky is now what, like 2 years old? Is that 3 years old?
I think so.
I believe so. Yeah.
So I mean, so we're still in this place. And again, like I back to my original point, there is something that is really nice and really refreshing about this company saying, you know what, instead of going off and putting our energy into something else, we're going to try to correct this thing. Now, that being said, I mean, they are releasing it for the Xbox One as well. So there's a little bit of incentive for them to get it right this time.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's going to open up a new market for them, sort of.
It is.
And on the note of a new market, it's Super Adventure Box time in Guild Wars 2. Have you guys ever played Super Adventure Box before? Once. So it's basically, Dame, do you have Guild Wars 2? Have you played it?
I have a love-hate relationship with Guild Wars 2. I wanted to love it, and it was so broken at launch for me that I gave up on it.
That's like ESO for me.
Come back to it. Be with us. Be with
You know,
us
we
in
were
Guild Wars
talking about
2.
all three of us getting together in Guild Wars 2, and we haven't done it yet.
I've got an article coming out on it next week, but Super Adventure Box is a big deal because Super Adventure Box is like an ode to retro gaming. Last year they gave like pixelated looking swords that made like old school video game noises, and one year they gave you like a little super banana that like does like this thing and it makes noises and it break dances. Coolest stuff, absolutely coolest stuff. And this year they're telling like a story of like a hero with a stick and trying to save a princess, just old school stuff, and it's like crazy and it's pixelated. I haven't gotten into it in Guild Wars 2 yet because I've been doing some research with the new PvP system since they just revamped they're balancing the balancing patch, so I've been messing with PvP, and they're about to start the new season. But Super Adventure Box would be a lot of fun, especially if we could all get into it. But if you've never seen Super Adventure Box and you're a Guild Wars 2 fan, get back into the game now. What about you guys? Are you guys coming back for it, you think?
We all got to get onto the same server, then we can talk about that.
Dame is saying no.
Nope. Not going to happen.
What server
I've been
are you
running
Ralph, what server are you on?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
I would have to launch it first to tell you.
What were you saying though, Ralph? You were.
I was going to say, like, I've been hopping in back and forth throughout the week just to check things out and get back used to it. I have not stepped into the Super Adventure Box yet.
Yeah. And I think this year they're calling it the Super Adventure Festival, but whatever you want to call it. It was a box last year, and it looks like a box.
Yeah, it was.
So. Whatever, guys. Next on the list, I'm actually going to talk about this first because the last one might go a little long. So Marvel Strike Force has officially launched on iOS and Android. It's been kind of out in like a soft early access style for a little while. And now they're saying that it has officially launched. Have you guys tried Marvel Strike Force?
I've heard you guys talk about it a little bit, but I have not picked it up yet.
I tried it. It's kind of like a mix. I don't know what game I don't play too many mobile games, but it's kind of like old school RPG style where you have a team of characters and you click buttons when it's their turn to tell them, what abilities you want them to use. It's a cool game, but a lot of people are trying to sell this as, hey, this is the Marvel Heroes Online, Marvel Heroes Omega replacement, and it is not. Let me tell you, it is not.
You sound like you have a little bit of experience and maybe something a little personal.
I am downloading it right now, so.
I'm just gonna. I have feelings on it. But I tried it based on those recommendations,
feelings.
and they were wrong. They made me cry in frustration. I just screamed no, and I couldn't handle it. It was not what I thought it was going to be, because they kind of sell it as like an action game, and it is not really an action game. It's more of just like a standard turn-based RPG with mobile cash shops and stuff. Does that sound good to you guys? Because if so,
Sure.
it is out on release right now.
I just downloaded it.
Okay, well, tell us what you think. I'm going to be playing it as well, just because I'm lonely, and I just need my Marvel fix. But
Go watch a movie.
I will eventually, but it won't be a video game.
I do want to get that. What was that new one? Marvel versus Capcom?
Oh, yeah. It's a good game.
I do want to get that.
Yeah. I have a review of that on GameSpace. Please check it out. Give my review some love. And talking about reviews that need love or maybe don't need love, because Dame was the reviewer, we've got Far Cry 5 released the 27th of this month. And we had Dame review it, and he's also written another separate piece on it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this? Because I haven't followed it at all.
Okay, so Far Cry 5 puts you, if you're not familiar with it, puts you in the boots of a sheriff's deputy, male or female, your choice. First time in the Far Cry series that you actually get to choose your gender and customize your character. So you could have a sweet mullet if you want to, which is a huge selling point. Mullet, American flag, cut off, great times. But
the mullet.
But it puts you into the shoes of a sheriff's deputy, and you come in with a warrant to arrest Joseph Seed, or the father of the Project Eden's Gate, a cult in Hope County, a fictional county in the state of Montana, and the wheels come off very soon, and you are stuck in the middle of a county that has just been overrun in a decade's worth of planning by this cult that thinks the world is going to end, and you have to basically be a part of joining a resistance and liberating this thing. It was okay. So I gave this a 9.5, and I realized that people may or may not be okay with that. I almost gave it a perfect 10. There are a couple of issues that I had with the game with some of the AI and some of the interaction with objects. But I will say this: I am somebody who highly values story, and especially character development. And I don't know that I've played a game in recent history where I have cared so much so quickly, not only about the heroes of the game, but also about the villains too. There was something, and okay, so just to kind of give you an idea, and I didn't write this in my review, but this was just kind of a part of the conversation. My wife was actually watching me play this game, and especially when I was in Faith Seed's territory. One of the questions that we were talking about was, are we going to have to kill her? We don't want to. Like there was an enemy in the game that I did not want to take out because she was a sympathetic character. So anyway, this game did a really good job of weaving those elements together, along with some good humor, some decent pop culture jabs and stuff like that. And there's a ton to do in the game. Just from a story perspective, there's probably about like 25 or so hours worth of content, and that's not getting off into all the side missions, doing the Clutch Nixon events, which begin with fiery explosions and eagles screeching and the Star Spangled Banner, you do these daring races and stuff like this to this screaming electric guitar ballad of Clutch Nixon. It is the thing that I said this in the review that if you want to feel more patriotic than a tear of freedom rolling down the face of George Washington on the Declaration of Independence, you will do a Clutch Nixon event. It is something that's a wonder to behold. But you were referring to a secondary article that I wrote outside of the review here that I just want to kind of throw in this. So one of the things that was really interesting and intriguing for me to play this game was that. As a pastor, I've had experience with real-world cults, and so Ubisoft did such an incredible job of making the Project at Eden's Gate feel like a believable thing. Like there were moments in this where I walked away going, "This is scary. This could be a real thing." Like when I went to the preview event for Ubisoft last month. They had Greg Brick there, who's the actor who plays Joseph Seed in the game. They did all the motion capture of him and his voice and stuff like that. This dude was terrifying. Like, he got up and delivered like a stump sermon during the event. And I talked to him afterwards and I said, dude, this is like probably one of the most terrifying things that I've seen in a while, because I guarantee you that if this were a real thing, that there would have been people in your crowd that would have followed you. He was that charismatic.
Wow.
So anyway, whatever the case is, so I wrote a secondary article entitled "The Pastor versus the Father," in which I do a little bit of a theological deep dive of some of the biblical imagery that's in the game. I actually didn't get to cover all that I wanted to, because I ended up with like a 3,000 word document. Like this is like a sermon in and of itself. But there was so much content in here. It's so rich with stuff that's not like, it's not overt if you're not looking for it. And so anyway, so I had a blast, writing about that and just sharing some of my thoughts on that, as a pastor and some of my observations.
You did make a sermon for that next Sunday, right?
I'm an assistant pastor, so I'm not preaching for another month here. So,
what's it out on? Is it out just on PC, or is it all systems?
It's out. It is out on the PS4. It is Xbox One and PC. So I reviewed on the PlayStation 4.
Awesome. And Ralph, you giving it a shot? Sounds like you were interested in it.
I am interested in it. I have not given it a shot, but I've been watching my buddy play, and it looks really good.
Awesome.
It is a blast. Gunplay is really solid. Some of the side quests, like, I think one of the things that I appreciate about an open world game like Far Cry 5 is that I'm boring you, Bowman. I understand.
No, this is what happens when you're sick the night before and you don't get any sleep.
One of the things that I appreciated about it is that everything that you do, even the side quest, advance the narrative of the game. And so even if you're doing like the Clutch Nixon events, or if you're going to liberate a cult outpost, or you're rescuing survivors, or you're rescuing kidnapped people, or just blowing crap up, like, you get resistance points for it, which advance the narrative in the zone that you're in.
Awesome. We're going to have to drop that there, but I do want to pick it up with you again, maybe in a few weeks, whenever we have a little bit more time, because I'm sure a lot of people want to hear about that. And it's actually going to coincide with some of the other stuff that we've got, some of our upcoming shows. But right now, we're running out of time. We've got just about 10 minutes left, so I've got to run through all this. We're going to kind of mix together the what are you playing as well as the plugs this week. So I want to start with Ralph, because we actually have some information from him. So Ralph, why don't you give it a go? Tell us what you're playing, and also where we can find you.
All right. Well, as far as what I've been playing, I've just been playing some Blade and Soul, just kind of leveling up my gunslinger in there, as well as hopping into that Terra on PS4. Seeing what that's like now that it's what is it, early, I guess not early access, but just early release if you got a code for it or something like that.
Nice.
But I've been doing that, and yeah, that's about it. You can always find me at my Twitch at Trouble Wolfie, or over on Twitter at Ralph the Wolf, or Ralph Wolf. I honestly forget my Twitter.
Oh, that's amazing. We love
when
you do that. So why don't you tell us a little bit? I'm going to show a couple of the things that you are doing on Twitch real quick. I got a couple of your projects, I guess. Is that what we can consider them?
Yeah.
So this is the kind of art that Ralph is putting out. And what do you do? What do you do on Twitch? Do you actually do these real time, or? Oh,
yeah. Most of them I do real time. And like some of them you might see, they might... like I do them in, like draw them as a sketch traditionally first, then scan them in for some of them. Other ones I do just like straight from the computer program. I use a Clip Studio Pro.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, they look really good and very impressive,
Thanks,
and
sir.
hopefully we'll see them in some games sometime soon. Maybe not those pictures specifically.
Yeah.
And
Ralph, I need your skills.
They are always available, sir.
So, Bowman, what do you got going on this week?
Well, this week I was playing Surviving Mars, which is a you're on Mars. You're building up your basically colony. You have to start with drones, and you go from there. You basically build up your first dome. You start getting people to move in from Earth, and yeah, it's pretty fun so far. I've played it for a couple hours, and I'm gonna have a review for it shortly. I've got half of it written. Some of it was deleted for reasons we won't go into on this podcast. But
interdimensional war.
Basically. But yeah, I love the game, so that's what I'm doing right now. I just
awesome.
Bill sent me Masters of Anima for Xbox One that I'm going to be playing and reviewing here soon. And if anybody wants to follow me, I'm Shinzon of Remus 1, which I know nobody will ever get.
Nope.
On Twitch, and the Wolf_1 on Twitter, and the Wolf1's Den on YouTube.
Awesome. Dame, what you got going on?
I have just been playing Far Cry 5 like crazy this week. I am doing my best to platinum the game right now, just because I have been enjoying it that much. And I have a review coming out here on MMORPG in the next couple of weeks, actually reviewing these head cones.
Head
Wow.
cones.
Head cones.
Conehead.
Head cones. So headphones, it's the Rocat Con Amo headset. So pretty stellar headphones. Sound quality is probably the best I've ever experienced in a USB headset. So
that's awesome.
Really good definition and sound. So look forward to you guys reading the review over there. And like I said, as far as plugs go, we already talked about the Far Cry 5 review and the editorial, The Pastor versus the Father. There's a lot of really good stuff. Like even if you're not somebody who is a religious person, like there are some really good points of thought and really good points of conversation that are in there that are really just poignant.
Right.
So I would just encourage you to go read that. The other thing that I want to plug really quick is on my personal podcast, Roll the Level. That's on iTunes. Roll the Level on iTunes, or Roll the Level, all one word, .podbean.com. This last week, I got a chance to interview Kevin Harwood of he is the creative director of The Station game. I actually reviewed The Station for GameSpace, and he and I started a conversation on Twitter. Really cool guy, really sharp guy. So we had a great conversation about creativity in video games and storytelling. This dude has a really good perspective on how to tell a good story. So that podcast actually just released this week. We just wrapped up our third season, so it's season 3, episode 13, I believe. That's out there on iTunes, and I'm looking at putting a video together because we got a video. Took some video during the interview. So
awesome.
So anyway, so those are kind of the things that I have going on, and you can find me on Twitter at Pastor Dame.
Woo! Well, that's fantastic. And as for me, we've got a few minutes here, and let me just tell you, I don't have no fancy head cones, but I do have a review that's going to be coming out probably in the next couple weeks or so. I've got I'm going to be building a new PC, and I've got a new case and lots of RGB lights, so everyone's going to be able to see that.
So jealous of you.
Oh yeah,
We're gonna be jealous.
I mean, there's not much jealousy because most of this I'm paying out of pocket for, so it's nothing special, guys. But what I did get was the case that I'll be reviewing, and it's a fancy looking case. Aside from that, I have my article coming out next week. It's gonna hit on Friday, but let me tell you guys what I want to plug this week. It's going to be next week's show, because I don't know who all's going to be there. But it's going to be a huge show because we're covering PAX East. We've got a lot of people who are going to be there on site, and we're going to be getting them to tell us what's going on. At the end of the day, we're going to have a bunch of their write-ups. We're also going to probably have a few of them on the stream. Maybe even Bill Murphy, the editor himself. Woo! Wouldn't that just be excellent? Yeah, I know. The legend. So we'll see. if we'll be able to get him on here, because he's definitely going to be there. And Bowman may or may not be at PAX East. Either way, we're going to probably have him on the show. I don't know yet. And then, as usual, what is that I hear? The podcast. The podcast that you can find on Stitcher, you can find it on TuneIn, iTunes. If you have a app that allows you to get podcasts, we're on it.
And you can listen on fancy head cones.
Head cones. You could
fancy or non-fancy head cones.
Head cones were designed for the cone heads.
It's true. I would say read Dame's review if you want to hear our podcast on the best head cones possible. But most importantly, check us out, because we've got a lot of great stuff going on. And you can hear our past episodes. And we're nice to hang out with for about an hour a week, at least. Make it 2 hours with the podcast. Listen to some of our past episodes. So aside from that, look for me. I will be on MMORPG.com next week with an article on Guild Wars 2 focused on PvP and that pesky meta battle. So definitely check that out. And from me and Dame and all of us, that is our show tonight. We appreciate everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Have fun, guys.
Laters.